Hey everyone, it is amazing to be here with all of you, and I want to wish you an incredible week ahead. And for those of you who are watching live, my name is Susan Sly, and for those of you who are new, then I want to welcome you and just wish you just a beautiful, beautiful day. It's interesting sometimes when we're starting to live into new habits that it can be challenging. And how many of you were here last week for the first part of Rock Solid Habits? Just say yes if you were. You were here at the beginning when we started to do that. Hey, Patty, it's great to see you. I know you've got some amazing life changes happening, and I'm sending you so much love. And Pam says, yes, I was here. How many of you made the list of 36 habits that you're going to live into? Hey, Riel. Riel is one of the coaches that works for our company. It's great to see you. Christina did. Tracy did. And how many of you went down and drilled it down to the 3 that you wanted to create in January? You have 3 of them. Okay, so who would like to be the person that comes out and shares the 3 habits that you're committed to living into in January? Just say me if you want to come out, and I'll bring you out on the live. Okay, Mr. Riel, come on out here. Okay, Riel, you should be added. Oh, we got to embrace technology today. Riel?
Hey, I didn't know.
There you are.
I'm pumping gas right now on my way to Arizona. You're cracking me up.
So, Riel, why don't you tell everyone what are the goals that you set for yourself, that 3 new habits that you're going to live into in January?
No procrastination. Grace, giving grace, and what I call Matthew 7, which is, of course, no judging, no gossip, no drama.
Love it. So no procrastination, live in grace, and no judgment. So those habits why are they important to you?
Because the journey that I'm walking in right now is walking into being everything I was creating to be and doing things with excellence. And to me, when I say do things with excellence, it's like, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want in your tombstone? What do you want people to say about you? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? And so for me, those 3 things I decided out of all of my habits were areas that I really needed to work on if I wanted to be that person of excellence.
I love that. How many of you guys are loving this? Angela says, great goals. That's beautiful. Yeah, to be a person of excellence, to be in that habit. So, Riel, thank you for sharing that while you're pumping gas. I'm going to take you off camera here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk about that for a minute, because if you're new to these, I do live coaching. I'm an NLP certified coach, and we talk about things like excellence and habits and releasing procrastination. And in this series, Rock Solid Habits, we're talking about how do we not only define the habit, but how do we create a habit that is so strong that we're going to live into it? So I wanted to thank Riel for coming out and sharing what his habits were. So let's get right into learning. I hope you guys showed up with your notebooks. So I want to talk about the 4 stages of habits. When something becomes habitual, we do it without even thinking about it. And that's always the goal. So whether it's something like prospecting in your business and you want to get into that habit, like you just prospect and you don't have to think about it, that's a great end game goal for you. Maybe you want to be in the habit of exercising all the time, and maybe you've struggled with that, but you want to be that person, that mythical unicorn person that wakes up in the morning. It's like, yes, I want to exercise today. I want to go out there and I want to do a CrossFit, or I want to go boxing, or, run 10K or whatever it is you want to do. In order to get to the place where our habits become unconscious, we must go through 4 stages. Let's go ahead and write these down. So the first stage we go through is unconsciously incompetent. And what that means is we don't know what we don't know. So when we're unconsciously incompetent, it means something like this. So let's say you set a habit for yourself that was like, oh my gosh, this is something that I want to do. I want to live into excellence, as Riel said. Maybe you didn't even have this awareness before. So before that, let's say Riel didn't even know, maybe, 20 years ago when he was in Billy Blank's Taibo workouts, his videos, maybe he didn't know he wanted to have personal excellence at that level. So back in those days, he would have been unconsciously incompetent. Maybe you're a smoker and you've gotten to the point now where it's like you're the cigarettes in your mouth before you're even thinking about it. You're unconsciously incompetent in that that's happening to you and you're not even aware yet that you want to make the change. Maybe it hasn't become important to you. So hopefully this is making sense. We're unconsciously incompetent. We don't know what we don't know. It could be the same for something as innocuous as social media, and I'll give you an example. So one of the things in social media is understanding things like algorithms and your avatar, the kind of stuff I teach in my business academy class. So it's like, it's not just about going and doing a Facebook Live or doing a post. It's doing something that's going to be meaningful to the people who are following you. So what's the best time of day to be on? What's the thing you're supposed to say? And all of that stuff. And so there's a lot of learning that goes into it. But part of that learning, you might just be posting on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you are, and you're just throwing spaghetti against the wall. You're unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you're doing. The next stage is that I'm consciously incompetent. So go ahead, write that down. Consciously incompetent, which means that, hey, I know I'm screwing up, but I'm conscious of it now. So I'm going to the gym and I'm doing my workout and I don't really know if it's as effective as I want it to be, but it's more effective than when I wasn't working out. Or I'm picking up the phone and I'm connecting with people who are prospects on my list and I'm not entirely sure I'm saying the right thing and I don't have a script, but at least I'm doing it. Does this make sense, everybody? About being you're consciously incompetent. And the majority of people, they spend a long time at conscious incompetency. So they're doing things and they're aware they're not super effective, but they keep doing them anyway. Now the danger is if we stay consciously incompetent and we keep repeating things that aren't that effective, we're not going to get the result that we want. And that's why in this place of conscious incompetency where you are with rock solid habits, that's the place I call the gap. So that's where I'm going to spend a few moments today. So in the gap, we're developing these new habits and maybe we're really uncomfortable. So it's like, I've got this awareness, I'm going to the gym, I'm getting more workouts in, I'm doing intermittent fasting, I'm prospecting, I'm making sales calls, I'm getting to places on time, whatever that habit is that you wanted to live into. And it's so uncomfortable and you're aware that it's uncomfortable. And this is where 90% of people give up by February, that they're too uncomfortable and they don't live there long enough to get to the next level. Is everyone following me here? Liza says that makes sense. Right? So I'll give you an example. So one of the new habits that I want to create in January was being very disciplined with my social media schedule. So I have a staff of amazing people. Riel is one of my coaches. He's one of our Infusionsoft coaches. So if you want business automation, definitely connect with him. And Renee is as well. Renee is here today. She's amazing. But I do all my social media. So I said, you know what, let's get real here, Susan. So what I did, because I was consciously incompetent, meaning not that I didn't know what to do, it's just I wasn't as disciplined with my schedule. So I said, I'm going to get really disciplined with my schedule. I made a spreadsheet. Check it out, the different groups that it's important that I post in, my different companies, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, blogging, and I including buffering, planned posts with Facebook fan pages, all of it. I am using this sheet while I'm consciously incompetent until I get to the next stage, which is this, that I'm consciously competent. Consciously competent is a great place to be, because that's that place where we sit down and we are prospecting on LinkedIn or whatever it is for our business, and we're deliberate. We know what we're doing. We know what's effective. And usually it's by trial and error, because you can take a course or you can do all sorts of things. However, there are certain nuances of things that are going to work for you that are not going to work for other people. And I'll give you an example. So my class, Organize Your Life, the Fundamentals, is coming up, and I love, love, love to teach it. I mean, I get you organized with your money and all of the areas of your life. And when people start, there's this huge awareness because they knew they were disorganized, but they just didn't know how it was affecting their life. And we can even get them organized in their health, and suddenly they're making more money. Or we get them organized their money, and suddenly their relationship is better. So taking people from that place of I'm consciously incompetent, I know I'm disorganized, to the point where I'm consciously competent, like I'm becoming an organizational badass and I'm getting my stuff together. I know what I need to do, and I'm very focused, right? So if that class is for you, just an FYI, we close off registration this week, and there is a code. If you go to susansly.com, use goals, all small letter goals, GOALS 18, you're going to get $50 off the class. It's ridiculous. Other classes like that are usually about $600, so you'll get it for $247. You get to work with me. We'll have a lot of fun. I'll get you organized. So once we are consciously competent, we're very focused. We know what to do. Heather, who's here, she sits down. She's a single mom. She sits down at her desk and she's focused. She's not going, gee, what should I do today? She's like, I know what to do. I know what works for Heather. I know what works in my life. I'm consciously competent. And that's where habits begin to feel good. So you went from this habit feels really bad, I'm going to prospect 3 people a day, to I'm going to prospect 3 people a day. It feels good now. I'm focused. I know what to do. I'm efficient. The fourth place is where it's the dream world. It's the happy place. It's like it's amazing to be there. It's euphoric. And that is unconsciously competent. And there's so many benefits to unconscious competency. It means we can do it in our sleep. And I'll tell you, a few years ago, I was working with, for 5 years, I worked with an NLP master coach, and he had also been a coach at Landmark and different places. He was amazing. And so I was preparing for an event, and it was a big event. I was really nervous. And he said, Susan, I could wake you up at 3 in the morning. I could splash water on your head and be like, wake up, you're training on sales prospecting, and you would go deliver an amazing training with zero preparation. And, the more I thought about it, he said, how many people have you spoken in front of? And I said, well, on average, at this time, I was averaging about 100,000 people a year, 100,000 people a year, I said. And he said, when did you first start doing, presentations in front of people? I said, sweetheart, I was teaching aerobics in the 90s in a thong leotard, in front of 50, 60 people. I've been, at this game a long time. And he said, you're unconsciously competent. So why are you worrying so much? It doesn't mean you don't put as much effort in. It doesn't mean you don't plan, but why are you getting nervous at something that you can do in your sleep? Some of you have been in professions where you could generate sales in your sleep, or you could enroll people in an idea, a concept, volunteering, baking for the kids' bake sale, whatever it is, and you were unconsciously competent at it. And yet you come into a new profession or a new landscape, a new environment, and suddenly you feel like a fish out of water. You have to remember your unconscious competency areas. So let me give you a tip for this, because I want to bring it to habits. Some of you may be saying, well, Susan, how does this relate to the habits that I want to become really strong in? It's everything. Because when those habits become unconsciously competent, that's where the major changes come from. That's when things begin to feel good. Years ago, I used to teach meditation back in the 90s, right? So, but I had gotten away from meditation, and this same coach, he's like, Susan, you need to meditate again. And I'm like, oh, so the first time I go back to meditating, I'm sitting there and I'm like, all these thoughts are coming through my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And then now, I think it's been probably 7 or 8 years, not a day goes by, whether I'm traveling, whatever, that I don't start the day sitting, grounding myself, meditation and prayer. It's just unconsciously competent. I could be on 2 hours of sleep, all sorts of things could happen, and yet I would still do it, right? And that took time to get there. So let's go ahead and begin to make some quick notes here. Sorry, I got a hair in my eye. One is that we must embrace this notion that it's going to be uncomfortable. So write this down. I will be uncomfortable for a period of time. It doesn't take 21 days to build a habit. It does not take 21 days. I've seen people give up smoking because they were diagnosed with lung cancer, and it took literally 1 day to break a 20-year habit, right? It doesn't take 21 days. It's individual. It may take Lauren 3 days to break a habit and build a new one because she's just at the end of her rope. She's backed in a corner. Something has to change. Where it might take John, it might take him 2 years to get in the habit of working out every day, right? So number one, we must embrace that it's uncomfortable. And the faster we embrace that, the faster the habit comes. Number two is that when we decide that we are going to create new habits for ourselves, we will be challenged. The challenge is going to show up, and it's going to be a test of you and your character. Do you really want it? It's going to be easy to go back to drinking wine Monday through Sunday. It's going to be easy not to live into your social media schedule. It's going to be easy not to follow the systems you said you were going to do. It's going to be easy not to look for new clients and customers. However, right, we have to remember why we decided that habit was important in the first place. Number three, we have to look at collateral damage. Collateral damage. So who suffers when we don't live into these habits? So for Riel, his habit of personal excellence, his wife Michelle is going to suffer if he lives into anything less. Who is going to suffer when you are not living into those habits? When you said, I'm going to go to bed at 9:30, who suffers when you're not feeling fresh? You're not feeling healthy and happy. You said you were going to do intermittent fasting once a month or once a week. Who suffers when you don't feel fit and energized? You said you were going to make 3 sales calls a day. Who suffers when there's more month at the end of the money, right? So who is the collateral damage? Number 4, how are you going to achieve this goal? What systems have you put into place in order to achieve it? To make 6 figures in their home-based business over the course of 2017. And so one of the things I said to them, I said, listen, you've got spreadsheets that they filled out every single week. They were looking at their numbers and they ended up doing it, right? So what systems do you have in place to support these new habits? And the 5th, in order to create a new habit, you must repeat it often. They're in a course in miracles. It will tell you, repeat this twice today, or repeat this, say it over and over for a period of 5 minutes, 3 times a day. It's almost like you must repeat it often in order for it to become consciously incompetent. So if you said you're going to work out once a week, you'll my body, 7 days a week, you'll probably do it, right? So you must repeat these habits often in order for them to accountable to living into the habits. I did read your comments. I'm looking at your posts. And so this week's challenge with your 3 new how you intend to create the structure for this habit to stick. Next week, we're going to SWOT test your habit. Opportunities and threats, and we're going to really dig in and do some coaching on all the potential threats to this habit. Now, it is Martin Luther King Day. Or Dr. King and say, here was a man with impeccable habits who was very bold and so willing to go out there and make change. to be bold, you're going to have to be strong, you're going to have to be tough, all of those things. I would love to work with you in my class, Organize Your Life. If you're loving these for you, please do share it. And again, I do read all of your comments. So we're going to finish up January with rock solid habits. Defy the odds, and instead of being one of those 90%ers who quits, for you to be a 10%er who really excels and succeeds. Thank you.